Okay, let's dive right into this explainer, because we are staring down the barrel of a 2026 Stanley Cup final scenario that has literally blown up every analytics model out there. I mean, it completely defied regular season logic. On one side of the bracket, we just witnessed an unprecedented sweep that sent the absolute overwhelming Cup favorites packing. And on the other, a total masterclass in suffocating defensive hockey. So today we're going to break down these absolute shockers, dig into the absolutely crucial rest versus rust debate, and check out the look-ahead betting lines to figure out who actually holds the true edge.
4-0? No way, right? It's an unthinkable sweep by the Vegas Golden Knights over the heavy Cub favorites, the Colorado Avalanche. To put this into perspective, heading into the Western Conference Final, evolving hockey models gave Colorado an 87.7% probability to advance. 87.7%! They were an absolute juggernaut all season. But the Golden Knights, who, remember, brought in John Tortorella to take over behind the bench late in the year, they just completely flipped the script. Vegas somehow limited a Colorado offense featuring superstars like Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar to just 7 total goals across 4 games. Sure, the Avalanche were dealing with some nagging injuries, but sweeping a team of that caliber, it's practically unheard of in the modern NHL.
1995. That is over 30 years since we've seen a dominant President's Trophy-winning behemoth just get dispatched with this kind of sudden finality this late in the playoffs. The Golden Knights were completely written off by pretty much everyone. They had a kind of lackluster regular season, snuck into the playoffs, and even had to deal with losing their captain Mark Stone for the entire series. Yet, they rallied. Players like newly acquired Mitch Marner went on this thermonuclear-level hot streak, and Carter Hart delivered in net exactly when he had to, basically sending the Avalanche home for the 13th straight season without a cup.
All right, so let's shift gears, move to the East, and see how the vibe contrasts entirely. Because while Vegas executed this swift, shocking assassination of the Avalanche, the Hurricanes are taking a way more grinding, inevitable approach against the Canadiens. Now, the Hurricanes entered the Eastern Conference Final, having played 3 fewer games than Montreal in the previous rounds. They were heavily favored for sure, but right out of the gate, things did not look like the walk in the park that a lot of experts predicted.
But just look at how things shifted. Over games 2, 3, and 4, Carolina has completely suffocated the Canadiens' offense, outshooting them 108-43. Let that sink in. That's more than double the shots. After dropping Game 1, the Hurricanes just flipped a switch and locked down the ice. Montreal really relies on a fast, opportunistic style, right? I mean, they lead all remaining playoff teams in 5-on-5 shooting percentage. But Carolina simply stopped letting them shoot the puck. In Games 2 and 3, Montreal only managed 18 and 13 shots, respectively. And by Game 4, Carolina just silenced the entire Bell Center crowd with a 4-0 shutout win.
Following that Game 1 stumble, the Hurricanes absolutely hit their stride. After that 6-2 disaster of a first game, they adapted. They ground out 2 super tight 1-goal victories and then finally broke the dam with that dominant Game 4 shutout. It is a textbook example of a team systematically dismantling an opponent game by game, and because of it, they are now just 1 single win away from heading to the Stanley Cup Final.
The so what? The strategic variable.
So with the matchup nearly set, we have to look at the strategic implications of these 2 very distinct playoff paths. It's not just about who won, it's about how they won, and the physical toll it took to get there. We've got one team sitting at home, resting up, while the other is still battling it out. And this brings us to a massive variable that coaches and odds makers are literally obsessing over right now. Is a full week off before the Cup Final a reward for the Vegas Golden Knights, or is it a total trap that's going to kill their momentum? If the final starts on June 2nd as projected, Vegas will have been off the ice for 7 full days. Now on paper, getting players healthy and rested sounds fantastic. But hockey is completely a game of rhythm. When you're flying high, clicking on all cylinders under John Tortorella, does a week off just ice you out?
And this rest versus rust debate is actually coming full circle right now. Carolina initially stumbled against Montreal after a really long layoff. Actually, it was the longest break between rounds in the playoffs since 1919. That rust definitely showed in their 6-2 loss in Game 1. But their accumulated rest from those earlier sweeps has actually given them a massive energy edge in the long run over a Montreal team that played 6 more games than them in the opening rounds. So, if Carolina closes out Montreal, they'll be battle-tested and totally in rhythm, while Vegas will be the team trying to shake off a full week's worth of rust.
Now, to forecast the future here, we really need to understand look-ahead lines, because they give us actionable insights into how odds makers view these potential finals. A look-ahead line is a fantastic tool. It basically strips away all the emotion of the current games and tells us strictly how the sportsbooks evaluate the raw strength of the expected finalists. So what exactly are the odds makers telling us about a potential Vegas versus Carolina showdown?
Section: The Now What?
Conn Smythe and Cup forecast.
Well, to find an edge right now, we have to look at individual performances just as much as team dynamics, and the current odds show a really tightly bunched race for the Conn Smythe Trophy. Mitch Marner at plus 170 perfectly represents Vegas's incredible momentum. He's been their dominant offensive force all playoffs, eating up heavy power play minutes and just driving results. But right on his heels is Frederik Andersen at plus 240, whose incredible .933 save percentage and 2.04 goals against average basically embodies Carolina's defensive inevitability. And hey, do not count out Taylor Hall at plus 600, who is actually leading Carolina in playoff scoring on a super dynamic second line.
Now, if you are looking for an edge, historical data shows us that betting on forwards from the eventual championship team is hands down your smartest play. 73% of all Conn Smythe winners are skaters, and 7 of the last 10 have been forwards. The golden rule here? The winner almost always comes from the team that actually lifts the cup. There are rare exceptions, sure, like Connor McDavid back in 2024, but mostly you need to pick the cup winner first and then pick their best player. Marner fits this perfectly if you like Vegas, but Andersen is really tempting because a red-hot goalie carrying a team often breaks that forwards-only rule. And for our viewers in places like Ontario where betting is fully regulated, jumping into the action only takes a few simple, secure steps. Since April 2022, the regulated market has made it incredibly straightforward. You literally just choose a licensed book, verify your identity, make a quick, secure deposit, and head over to the NHL Futures tab to lock in your MVP or Cup winner. It's just a great way to add a little extra stakes to the games, provided you're playing responsibly, of course. So here's the real kicker. Despite Vegas's shocking sweep of the Avalanche, the smart money is actually leaning the other way. Look-ahead odds still favor the Carolina Hurricanes at minus 150 to win it all. That translates to roughly a 60% implied probability. Vegas is sitting as the underdog at plus 130. The books are essentially saying that while Vegas's run is a fantastic story, Carolina's underlying metrics, the fact that they're consistently outchancing, outshooting, and just suffocating opponents, is the much more sustainable path to a championship. It is an unprecedented clash of styles and momentum right now, so the only question left to ask is who do you believe will survive the ultimate test of rest versus rust? Will John Tortorella have the Golden Knights primed to shock the world one more time, or will Carolina's relentless, grinding system just overwhelm Vegas exactly like it has Montreal? The models have certainly been wrong before, and in the Stanley Cup playoffs, inevitability is just an illusion until that final horn sounds. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, you guys. Now go enjoy the rest of the playoffs.